Well, in other news, results of a new survey are out. 93% of Singapore residents were satisfied with the cleanliness of public places, a 9% increase from the findings in 2018.
The survey was conducted between last December and April this year, with the majority of the responses collected before the circuit breaker was imposed. The study also showed improvement in public perception of some spaces, like hawker centres, where there was a 25% increase in satisfaction.
But in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, many expressed continued concern about public hygiene and expect stricter enforcement of hygiene standards, particularly at public spaces, including childcare centres, elder care facilities, schools, food establishments and shopping centres.
Now, here to share more on the survey findings is Professor Pauline Tay Strawn, Professor of Sociology Practice at Singapore Management University. Hi, Professor. Thank you so much for setting aside time to speak with us. Professor, the top line result, 93% of respondents, they were satisfied with the cleanliness in Singapore's public spaces. What do you attribute this to? Perhaps our decades of campaigns on good hygiene, or is this year an anomaly due to Singapore's response to the pandemic?
This is a survey that we have done now 3 years in a row. So whenever we run a survey like this, it raises awareness, it raises public discourse on the issue. So we noticed that from 2017 to 2018, there was a stepped up improvement, particularly in the pain points, right? The wet markets, the hawker centres. So in 2019, when we started the survey in December, I suppose one expectation would be that since the awareness has been raised and attention is focused on these areas of public shared public spaces and the cleanliness, that there should be we expected that there should be some improvement, but of course the improvement was a lot higher than expected. And therefore, the second important factor, and that is the period that we did the survey, which was we started in December and we ended when circuit breaker stepped in on the 7th of April. So that is the period when we were on COVID alert already. So we believe that part of the response of the public is due to the efforts of the agencies in ensuring that cleanliness is kept at an optimum level.
What do you think are some of the perennial issues that we have seen for the past 3 years, 4 years?
We see that even with the improvement from this 2019 run, the pain points remain wet markets, hawker centres, right? So these are shared spaces that are very important to all Singaporeans, and therefore even more important that we work together, right, to play our part. So the difficulties that we see from 2017, even before 2017, is the ambiguity in roles and responsibilities. So let me illustrate with one particular example, tray return, right? We know that we're supposed to do our part. We know that, we should be returning our trays and not relying on an army of cleaning professionals, to mop up after us. However, depending on which establishment that you go to, the norms seem to be different, right? In some places, very clearly that you have to return your tray. In other cases, before you're even done, somebody comes along and clean up after you. And yet in other places, though you want to return your tray, you have no clue where the tray return is. So these ambiguities then makes it very difficult for us to promote that normative behavior, which is tray return, right? So these are areas that we need to continue to work on, because if we want Singaporeans to do the right thing, then make it easy for them, right? And the very important norms, establishment of norms will be the first step to make it very clear. We have about 30% or so, right, who say that they're not quite sure if they're supposed to return their tray, and then about 30% or so also say that I think that it should be the cleaner's responsibility. Right? So it tells us then that, there's work to be done in this area.
More on social norms and social mores. Now more than ever, hygiene and cleanliness are of public concern and a priority to both the authorities and Singapore residents. So do you think this will continue into a COVID-free world, or will people revert to old habits?
Well, COVID-19 has presented us with opportunities, right? Opportunities to do better when it comes to maintaining public cleanliness and public hygiene. So whether or not we can take advantage of this to change behavior depends on what we do in this period, where there's a lot of fear, where there's heightened awareness, and there's a lot of goodwill, right? That we want to make sure that we do our best to keep Singapore safe. So let's take advantage of this period, and let's think of ways in which we can, I think, sustain the good work that has started. And then I think we can all look forward to a cleaner Singapore.
Right. Well, that's a great note to end this discussion. Thanks very much once again for coming on the show. We've been speaking to Professor Pauline Tay-Strawn, Professor of Sociology Practice at SMU.
The university released results of the Public Cleanliness Satisfaction Survey, which found that 93% of respondents were satisfied with the cleanliness of public spaces in Singapore.